Every day we need to be monitoring what is our pacing? Am I overspending? Am I underspending? And any key alerts. My product ran out of stock. My buy box is out on a critical ASIN. I'm seeing major shifts in buy box percentage. I'm seeing a major shift in total sales on a product, things like that. On a weekly level, we probably want to dive a little bit deeper on an individual account basis and see, am I falling below my ideal weeks of cover? Am I seeing advertising anomalies? Am I seeing a buy box trend decrease? Going a little bit deeper on an account level. Just to set a little bit of a frame here, I think really what we want to focus on today is we know as an agency, we work with over 100 agencies here at Intentwise. We know that there's a lot of pain points that can come with working at the scale that agencies often have to work at. And so we really want to dive into effective ways that you can efficiently know what's going on across the entire portfolio of your agency and set that up in a way that is actually easy for you to maintain and manage over time. So with that, we'll jump in here. So first, just adding to that frame of what is the challenge that agencies face today. We know that a lot of agencies we work with, you're working with a good portfolio of accounts, right? You might have 10 accounts in your portfolio, or you might have 100 accounts in your portfolio, somewhere in between that range. But there's data that you need to be consuming and monitoring across all of those accounts at once, which can be difficult to do at that scale. That's compounded by the amount of different signals that you have within your account that need to be monitoring. Maybe your ad sales change. Maybe there's an inventory issue, right? There's lots of different signals that you need to keep an eye on to truly understand the performance and anything that's critical that may come to affect performance in your account. And then there's the time to act, right? If you have a product, get suppressed from search results, you need to act quickly. If your product runs out of stock, you need to act quickly. So how do we set up a system that allows you to identify critical things so that you can respond within the day? And really the focus here is, we're not going to stop things from happening, but how do we catch the important things before they start to impact our overall sales? I think the frame I want to put on this is thinking as a being proactive versus being reactive, right? If I'm thinking about things not in a reactive mode, not only am I going to see sales impacted, but I'm also going to have, as an agency, have my clients coming to me asking questions about, why is this the way it is, right? So maybe I'm an agency that does a full service model and I need to go spend on our hero ace in less than it was last week. Why is this product about to run out of inventory? Those things, even if you're an agency that only supports ads, are very impactful on your overall ability to execute and be strategic. And more brands are going to expect you to bring those things to them versus you bringing those things, or versus them bringing those things to you. So we really need to, again, focus on how do we build a system to surface these problems before they have major long-term impact. So now that we have that frame, what are those signals that we're going to cover and walk through? The first one is looking at suppressions and buy box. And we're going to look at how we monitor our inventory across that compounds even more, where not only do I have 50 accounts, but they each have 100 ASINs within them. That's a lot of inventory that I need to keep track of. How do we keep track of our advertising efficiency, monitoring all of this, and then building a framework to do this at scale? So first, I want to touch on kind of some key overall account health or even product health signals that we need to be keeping an eye on. First is looking at things like buy box percentage. So did my buy box percentage drop over the last 48 hours, the last week? Right? If that's happening, this could eventually lead to us completely losing the buy box, but it's definitely going to have an impact on sales. Open tickets with Amazon to see how we can resolve that, or I need to make a pricing change to adjust to that. But either way, I need to know that that's going on, even if you are just servicing someone within an ad management solution, because that's losing or seeing decreasing buy box percentage is going to hurt your ability to even serve ads. And so having that proactive communication with your brands is important. The same thing for seeing suppressions on key ASINs, right? That's probably even more critical. Completely losing the buy box, or seeing your content change, right? Maybe you're working with a vendor account and their price is changed by Amazon, or the content changed without you knowing, and that's affecting your overall ranking, right? By the time Amazon is giving you these signals, you're already going to start to see revenue impact at that point. So we need to quickly respond and make those adjustments so that we can limit the revenue impact that these signals are going to have. And that's going to help your brands be more successful and also help your brands have more trust that you are driving that strategic value for them. So kind of expanding on looking at health, like what are those signals that we need to be monitoring across our account? I think there's things to look at both on an ASIN level as well as our overall account level, right? So if I have key ASINs, I need to make sure that I know when those are losing buy box. I need to have a notification in real time that that's happening. I need to know when those products are going out of stock, and I need to know when those products are getting suppressed, right? Those are events that are critical because I'm not going to see any sales volume following them. So within the day, I need to have, if not a resolution, at least spoken to my client about, hey, this key ASIN is not driving any sales because of this issue. So we need to make sure we have ASIN level insight into those problems in real time. And then there's things we need to be monitoring across our account, like our buy box percentage is decreasing, our content's changing, our inventory is getting close to a stock out, right? That more of that proactive idea where maybe we haven't seen the full impact of losing a buy box or going out of stock yet, but we're getting close, and that's going to start to have an impact on us if we don't start to address it. We know that most sales are driven through the buy box on Amazon. All of these things are going to affect our ability to be in the buy box, and so they're critical to keep an eye on, both in real time things happening and keeping track of things that might be happening soon. So taking a step past those health metrics like buy box and suppression, the next critical thing is inventory, right? Again, we kind of touched on the last slide, but if you run out of stock, obviously we're driving no sales. So I would encourage you, especially on key ASINs, to think about this more in that proactive sense of looking at things that are running low on inventory. So setting up on a weekly level, I'm going to check for all of my ASINs that are falling below maybe 4 weeks of cover. That might vary brand to brand what that number is. Maybe you guys only typically keep 3 weeks of cover in, but you and your brand probably have an idea of what that is. Yeah. So that's how many weeks of inventory, based off of your current sales velocity, you have in Amazon. So that might be our ideal is keeping 2 weeks of inventory. It might be 4 weeks of inventory. Whatever that threshold is, we want to make sure we're monitoring when we're falling below that. Maybe you're managing that for that inventory plan for your client and you need to take a next step, or you're just running ads and you need to let them know that a key ASIN is close to running out of stock. And then the same thing, if something actually runs out of stock, we need to probably adjust our ad strategy in the same day to make sure that we're not just losing those ad dollars and they're being allocated somewhere else. I really emphasize that point, right? Even if you're only focused on ads or you're focused on ads and content, running out of stock is probably the biggest impact on rank and advertising performance outside of your actual advertising adjustments. If I run out of stock, I'm going to lose. If I'm out of stock for a week, maybe I've made 3 months of rank gains. I'm going to lose most of that in that out of stock event because I'm basically be reset, or I'm going to waste ad dollars towards that product. So this is a very key one to be monitoring before we get to the critical out of stock event. The next thing is just maybe more on a weekly level, but capturing big changes in advertising performance, right? And this could be on a product level, on a campaign level, right? But these are things that if we let advertising performance changes compound for a month, I'm going to see very big differences versus trying to catch them a little bit earlier in the cycle by setting up systems to catch things that are meeting different thresholds. So maybe I want to look at a campaign that has a cost spike of more than 10 or 20% compared to the last week. Maybe I want to look at things where this product had a major difference in spend week over week, maybe an increase or a decrease. And that's not always necessarily a negative thing. Maybe that was intentional, maybe spend increased, but it was, performance was great still. But knowing that so that we can keep an eye on that performance is still very important. And maybe your conversion rate saw a big drop. Maybe spend went up, but sales stayed flat, and that caused a big performance difference, right? There's several of these things where I think the gist of this is really making sure we have an eye on big delta changes, whether that's in ACOS, spend, or sales, down to a campaign level, so that we're catching those things again before they compound on a month-over-month basis, right? And then I think just a quick key to frame this a little bit more, right? Like how quickly we need to be responding to these things before they start to make big impacts, right? So if my revenue is dropping at a pretty considerable pace compared to the last week, I probably need to either take an action or talk to my client about it within a day or two. If I lose my buy box, I really need to have a next step planned within the same day. If I see a big change in ad performance, I ideally need to respond within a day or two to not see that performance compound, right? If I'm getting much worse performance than my ideal, I don't want to let that continue on. If my stock falls below 4 weeks of cover, I need to respond within the week so I don't get to 2 weeks of cover or 1 week of cover before I actually get a shipment in. And then there's another thing we haven't even talked about, which is like your pacing of your advertising account, right? If I get halfway through the month and realize I've spent 75% of my budget, that's going to affect the back half of that month's performance. So overpacing or underpacing is a key thing that we need to be responding to, within 1 or 2 days as well. So now that we have that frame, right? Again, we saw the scale at which these problems occur, and then all those signals that we really need to be monitoring because they have critical impacts on our overall performance. How do we actually build a framework to monitor all of this in an efficient way so we're not spending all day clicking through accounts, right? You can't log into every single one of your accounts every single day and track all of these different things. Our recommendations are on a portfolio level, so your entire account portfolio. Every day we need to be monitoring what is our pacing, right? Am I overspending? Am I underspending? And any key alerts. My product ran out of stock. My buy box is out on a critical ASIN. I'm seeing major shifts in buy box percentage. I'm seeing a major shift in total sales on a product, things like that. On a weekly level, we probably want to dive a little bit deeper on an individual account basis and see, am I falling below my ideal weeks of cover? Am I seeing advertising anomalies? Am I seeing a buy box trend decrease? Things like that, right? Going a little bit deeper on an account level. And then as needed, kind of going in on a deeper SKU level and doing some troubleshooting. Like, hey, this SKU is seeing a big decrease in buy box percentage or a big decrease in sales over the last couple of weeks. And then really diving into what are the critical things happening on that ASIN that might be causing those. So I'm going to pause here and jump over to kind of a wireframe that we've put together here as to what this system could look like for your agency. Give me 1 second here as I switch over my screen. All right. So this is an idea of what your agency's, health dashboard could look like. That's how I would frame it, is what is my overall agency health, right? So I can see here, I have an easy place to monitor across all of my brands. What is my top line performance? Right? This might be something that I review on a weekly level to see, am I seeing a trend across my portfolio? And is that because there's a seasonality change? Is that because there's a change in how my overall agency strategy is running? But I'd have the signal of knowing that, what's changing across the scale of my portfolio. Then getting into that pacing tracking. We talked about we need to do this on a daily level, but it's probably going to be tough for me to go check in each ads account that I have, what's my spend for the day. So having an easy place where I see, what's my budget? How much have I spent? Am I overspending or underspending? And seeing that for my most critical accounts and making adjustments as needed from there. Tracking those key events. So here's a view we've put together where I can see by account how many products have lost the buy box, how many products have been ad suppressed, how many have major sales drops, right? Maybe I want to define what that sales drop threshold is. It might be different for each brand. That's okay. But I might see, hey, this is a critical account for me. I want to know what those are. I can click in here and see, okay, I know this is a critical ASIN that lost buy box. It's already been 21 hours. It's estimating I'm losing $2,400 in sales a day. This is something that I need to talk to my client about, right? So this is an example of what that key view could look like for you to just know on a daily level, I'm going to come here every morning and see what's impacting my brands, right? Get a top line level of performance, key events, and budgets. Then maybe on a weekly level, I want to dive more into, what's happening within my ad strategy across my agency. So I might see here that maybe overall our DSP is doing better or worse, and trying to dive into why that might be happening. Seeing my overall pacing on a deeper level, right? Like what is my pacing percentage by DSP versus sponsored ads accounts, and what's my overall account level ad performance. So these are all key things to be monitoring on that weekly level. Same thing for looking at analytics that might be a little bit more proactive. So again, we talked about looking at inventory, buy box, and ad anomalies. So here is a list of things where I have key ASINs, and maybe we'd add a sales column here, and I could sort by the last month's sales that are falling below whatever that inventory threshold I set was. So I could see here, hey, maybe this product is below 1 week of cover. I need to really get more units in here or speak to my client clients about getting more units in here so that I don't lose sales on this ASIN. But I probably also need to adjust my ad strategy if I'm spending a lot of ad dollars against this ASIN. So that's something I might do on a weekly level, doing that level of review. Same thing for buy box percentage. I haven't lost the buy box yet, so I'm not going to get a critical alert, but maybe my buy box percentage has seen a big difference, a big decrease, and that's something I need to start investigating as to why that's happening. And again, maybe make a change in my advertising strategy. And then advertising anomalies, right? Maybe I'm seeing a big increase in spend, right? This campaign went from spending $165 a day to $562 a day. That might be positive if the performance is good, but I still need to be aware that that's happening down to a product and a campaign level. So those are just a couple examples of the things that I might want to be monitoring or I should be monitoring across my account in a way where we could put together an easy view for you to do that review in 15 minutes every morning and not have to spend hours clicking through, each account to find those critical actions every day. All right, I am going to jump back over to our presentation here. So we looked at what is an agency health dashboard look like, but now I want to kind of look at like what is the impact that that can have. So again, we talked about being proactive versus reactive, and I think this is really big in building trust with your clients and reducing the churn that you might have within your client portfolio. So a proactive agency might look like, hey, we noticed that your best seller is running low on its weeks of cover. We've already paced back the advertising spend against it, and we would recommend sending in a new shipment as soon as possible so that we can bring our ad dollars back up. Or, hey, we noticed that this product had a big change in advertising spend week over week. It's not performing as well as we would hope. We're pacing that back before your client comes to you and says, hey, this product is now out of stock. Our hero ASIN is out of stock. We need to pause ad dollars on it, right? That's going to be a big difference in the level of trust that your client has on you and the decisions that they leave in your hands. One's going to, help you again build that trust and reduce churn, while the other side of it, the client might feel like they need to be more, deeply involved in the day-to-day of the account. And I think the other frame on this is like, even if you are only managing advertising for your brand, all of this is extremely important. Right? We know more and more that what's happening on a retail side, what's happening in your inventory affects your ability to be strategic with your advertising strategy. If something only has 5 days left before it runs out of stock, you don't need to be sending ads against it, right? That's not very strategic. So even if you're only serving ads for these brands, they are going to have an appreciation, and you're going to be more strategic if you are involved in knowing what my inventory and retail signals are. And that's important for you to have the full picture and be a true strategic partner for your brands. Well, how can I, again, we looked at an example, but how can I really automate this, right? Having a dashboard that shows my whole portfolio, all accounts in one view, having threshold alerts, right? So we set, I want to have alerts when I lose the buy box, when there's a big shift in sales, or if I want to go deeper within advertising, as an example, if you're an ad focused agency, you could even set alerts when there's a big change in spend or a cost falls below a certain threshold on a product. Things like that. You can use tools like Intentwise has, like Product 360, which show all of the signals affecting a product's performance in one place, and I can see what products are causing anomalies week over week, all in one place as well. And having strong client reporting, right? This is all going to be for our internal use, right? We have our agency health so that we can go for the critical things, but I can also save time by pushing all of this into white label client reporting that they can reference on a regular basis. It's going to be just as key as for my clients to know what's going on in the account as well. So kind of wrapping this up here, what are the key things that we need to be looking at? I need to be catching these key signals before my client brings them to me. Am I losing buy box? Are things being suppressed? Am I running out of inventory? I need to be monitoring trends, whether that's inventory trends or advertising trends, before they have a big impact on the account, right? And I need to know that I'm running low on stock 3 weeks before I'm out of stock, not the day before I'm out of stock. Watching for anomalies and changes in my advertising performance is really key so that your clients don't have to bring those things to you. And building the systems that help surface these products or these problems in an easy to consume way so that you're not spending a bunch of time doing these investigations or looking at dashboards that don't truly call them out. So I'll stop there. That was the frame we had today. I hope that was helpful. I'll pause there for any questions you guys might have. Please feel free to throw those in the chat or the Q&A, and happy to In the meantime, if you're like, hey, I feel like this is something that I need for my agency, I want to learn more about how I can build this, I'm going to launch a poll in the chat here. If you just answer yes on that poll, someone from our team will reach out to set up time to explore how your agency can put a health system in place to monitor these things across your portfolio.
I think the key message I want to reiterate again is that we've seen the evolution of agencies and their portfolio of services for clients. We've also always experienced the fact that on a channel like Amazon, one factor impacts the other. Buy box, pricing, inventory all impact ads and vice versa. And so when you're having conversations with clients, it has become increasingly important to have a full channel view, even if you're delivering just part of the service, so that you come across as proactive and you're part of strategic conversations versus tactical conversations. More importantly, like the direct impact of all of this is your client satisfaction and client retention or reduced churn. So that's the go forward state. I also think that so much of this is about how good you are at processing signals, because not only is the likes of Amazon sharing more signals than before, but you also now have cross channel interest from a lot of brands. Like most brands this year have a TikTok shop. They all want to know what happened in TikTok and how is that impacting Amazon and vice versa. These lines between channels are blurring. So the number of signals that have to be processed to be proactive just continue to grow. And that's where an emphasis and focus on the right systems for the agencies to scale becomes so important. And it also is a matter of like margins that your agency is generating, right? How do you get all this done with the least time investment versus having a bunch of people spend 80% of the time doing some kind of analysis, right? So I think it's strategically important for the agency business to grow to have this holistic view and then build the appropriate systems to support it.
Well, it doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat here, but if you have any questions or you want to get more details here, please feel free to reach out to us at any time. You can email me directly just at kenton@intentwise.com. And more than happy to help answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Kenton. Thank you, Srinath. So thanks, everyone. And thank you for tuning in. Have a great day.